In this video, I'll be automating one of the highest paying roles in my agency, which is a technical project manager. I'll show you how to build an agent that will work in your Slack 24/7 completely for free, meaning that you will only pay for tokens and nothing else. This system is also easily customizable, so you can fine-tune it for your client's business. Now let's see a quick demo. Okay, just pretend that I'm a client and that I have an issue with an AI email agent that we recently delivered. And for those who don't know, my agency specializes in creating custom AI agent systems for businesses worldwide. So after I sent this message in Slack, the agent immediately responded to me in the same thread. And by the way, this agent can even determine whether it needs to respond in this thread or not, so it only answers when the client has an issue or some feedback. It asks me for some additional details, as you can see on the screen, just like a real project manager would. So let me provide all of that. Once I do this, as you can see, it informs me that the task has been posted for our development team. As I always say, your agents should work alongside your employees, meaning that they should use the exact same systems that your employees use daily. And because our developers are tightly organized around Notion, this agent also posts tasks in Notion. So let's go into our Notion project page, and here under the backlog category, you can now see this new task. It has the exact same format that I'd expect from the real project manager, with a clear background, some actionable to-do items, and additional notes. So now let me show you how you can build a similar Slack agent for your client's needs in just 20 minutes. Let's dive in. Okay, open your code editor, and if you haven't already done so, make sure to install Agency Swarm, which is my agentic framework from GitHub. Then, of course, like always, we're going to be using the Genesis agency to help us get started faster. In my prompt, I'm going to say that I need this project manager with two tools, and then describe what each tool does. So the first tool is the Get Project Overview tool, which fetches the project information from our Notion. And the second tool is the Post Backlog Task tool. So let's send this prompt, and after the process of creating our agents is completed, we can see this agency on the left as I requested with one agent and two tools. Now the next step is to adjust these tools, because obviously the Genesis agency is not perfect yet. So since we're going to be using Notion API, we're going to have to create a Notion account. However, keep in mind that you can easily replace Notion here with whatever system that your employees use. So for example, if you organize your tasks in Jira instead of Notion, all you need to do in this tutorial is simply replace this tool with a tool that will connect to Jira. Okay, so on Notion, we need to get a new API key by creating an integration. Select my workspace, select type internal, and then you can see the API key on the next page. So simply copy this key and go back into the code editor and then paste it into the .env file. Then we need to connect this integration to Notion. After that, you also need to copy the page ID, which you can find in the page URL. So simply copy the page link and then remove everything from the URL except the ID at the end. Now let's adjust the first tool, which is the Get Project Overview tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the first block from the Notion page, and then we're going to convert it to a markdown, because by default Notion returns a very strange format similar to HTML, which could be hard for the agent to read. To test this tool, all you need to do is simply add if name equals main statement at the bottom, and then run this file. As you can see, we get this nice project overview with some goals and objectives exactly like they are defined in our Notion page. Now let's also connect to the tasks database so the agent can actually post the backlog tasks. Let's hardcode this page ID again on the top instead of providing it inside the tool. And what I want to do next is also add a special field validator. So again, because my framework relies on a structure library, you can add special validator functions inside the tools to ensure that all of the inputs provided by the agent make sense. And because I want my project managers to always include certain to-do items, what I'm gonna do is make sure that the markdown actually contains the necessary characters that indicate the presence of a to-do item in this task. So let's add the instructions similar to those that I would provide to my managers, and also include those formatting details at the bottom for how to properly scope the tasks. After that, let's adjust the logic of the task. So I'm going to create another folder called util, and inside that folder I'm going to create a constants.py file where I'm going to move the task template. So this template will serve as the default parameters for the task. For example, we're going to set the status to backlog, and also we're going to add some formatting that we've seen before. Next, let's set the task title inside the properties of our task template, and let's also convert the page content to a list, because in Notion, as you can see, it takes a list of content blocks instead of a single markdown content. So we'll need another function called split into segments and markdown to list, which will essentially just format the markdown into the format preferred by Notion, where each line is a separate content block with its own markdown inside. And finally, we can just send this data to Notion API in the request. So to test this task again, let's add if name equals main statement with some example markdown text and the background. Let's execute this Python file. And as you can see, it tells us that the task has been posted successfully. So let's check it in Notion, and yes, indeed, we got this task in Notion with some example content. Okay, now let's create a Firebase account. We'll need Firebase later when we'll be integrating agent in Slack. Enter your project name, you can disable Google Analytics, and then simply click Create Project. After the project has been created, go to Firestore database and then click Create Database. After that, we need to get the service account key. So go to Settings, and under Service Accounts, click Generate New Private Key. Copy this key and paste it into the same project with your agent. Now we'll need to create a special Generate Response function that we'll use later on when integrating the agency in Slack. So we'll be using a simple getCompletion function to generate a response, but we also, as I said, need to save the threads in the database. This ensures that the agent can later on continue the same conversation where it left off. So let's import our service API key, initialize the database, and then we need to create two new functions. So the first function will get these threads from the database depending on the conversation ID, where the conversation ID later on is going to be the thread ID from Slack. Again, this is because we want our agent to continue the same conversation or start a new conversation for each thread. And the second function will be called save threads to the database. This function will act in a similar way, except it will save the threads to the database. Now let's try to generate a response with a test channel and a test ID. But also don't forget to add your OpenAI key. Simply run this file and it's gonna print a response. Now let's check if this thread actually exists in Firestore, and as you can see, yes, we have this Slack chats collection with the document that is named test channel test thread and our threads ID inside. Now let's create the Slack app itself. Go to api.slack.com/apps and click create a new app. Here you can click from scratch, select your workspace, app name, and then click create app. Go to the OAuth and permissions and scroll down to the scopes. Here we'll need to add a few permissions for the app to work properly. After that, click Install to Workspace and install this app into your Slack. Copy your bot user OAuth token and then go back to basic information. Here you also need to copy the sign-in secret. Paste them into the .env variable and then create a new app.py file. So this app.py file will actually contain the code for our Slack application. We're going to be using Slack Bolt, which is a really nice package for creating simple Slack apps fast. So here we need to add another if block, which will just return the challenge and authenticate our application. Now let's proceed with creating the actual bot logic. So here I'm going to create a special function which will be triggered on two events. The first event will be app mention and the second event will be on message. This essentially means that our bot will be triggered anytime someone mentions it in Slack or also on every message. And the reason we want to trigger it on every message is because later on we're going to also add some logic to determine whether it needs to respond in a thread or no. So here we're going to get some additional user information to see who sent the message. I don't really want the Slack bot to respond to my managers, which is why I'm going to filter out all requests that are coming from the same workspace. Then I'm going to get the real name of the user who sent the message and slightly adjust the format for the message itself. So I want the agent to also understand who sent the message, which is why I'm going to add this real name up front. And then I'm going to check if the response is required. So as you can see, this function has a pretty large prompt and it uses GPT-4o Mini to determine whether the agent needs to respond or not. So here are some specific guidelines for when to respond to the clients or not, because again, we don't want this agent to respond on every single message. We only want it to respond in this thread when there is some feedback from the client. And then we're going to check if the thread ID is not in the event. And in this case, we need to create a new thread and then post the message in this thread. And if the thread already exists, we can simply generate the response like above, but send it in the exact same thread. So for testing this locally, you'll also need to install ngrok and then authenticate it. After that, you can simply run ngrok http and then enter your localhost address. This will create a public URL for your UVcorn server. Copy this forwarding address, go back to the Slack app configuration and paste it into the request URL. Now let's subscribe to some of the events that we have just created in our Slack app. Then you can just save the changes and now we're ready to test this app. Make sure to add this agent in the channel first, and then you can simply tag it like this and say hello. As you can see, the agent now responds in the same thread, and if I send some requirements like I'm a client, you can see that it immediately tells me that the development team will start working on this task soon, and you can see this new task being posted in our Notion project. Now all that's left is to deploy the Slack app so you can use it at any time in your workspace. So let's create another directory called Slack app and move all the code there. Then we need to create a Docker file. The Docker file is really simple. It will simply install some additional packages and then run our UVcorn server. So go to Google Cloud and select the same project which you used to create your Firebase account. And then here under the Cloud Run server, you can actually connect to your GitHub repository and completely automate the deployments, which is extremely convenient because anytime you push the code into the main branch, it will be automatically updated in the cloud and the changes will be reflected in your Slack bot. So let's select our repository, click Next, then select the branch, build type you should set to Docker file and click Save. Then make sure to allow unauthenticated invocations. The rest of the settings you can leave on the default and then click Create. Click on Edit and deploy new revision. And then here just slightly adjust the container port to be 8000. Then go to Variables and Secrets and add all the same variables from your .env file. After that, simply click Deploy. Awesome, so then on GitHub you'll see this action being currently executed and you can even check the logs to see when it's completed. After the build is finished, go back to Cloud Run, click on Slack bot and copy your app URL. After that, go back to your Slack app configuration and change your request URL. Click Save Changes again, and now your bot should be deployed and ready for production use. Let's send another message that I have a feedback about the product, and as you can see now it responds without me having to run any commands locally. Awesome, so let's test it again. Let's say that I want more personalized elements, addressing the customer by name and so on. And as you can see, it again asks me more questions, tries to clarify the requirements as much as possible. And then it posts this task as a backlog task in Notion for our development team. Awesome, so that's it for this tutorial. The code will be in our Agency Swarm lab repository. So if you wanna deploy a Slack app like this for your own workspace completely for free, make sure to go there and adjust it for your specific process. So thank you for watching and don't forget to subscribe.